Welcome into Rounding the Bases, the podcast about culture and leadership with a baseball twist, presented by Community America Credit Union. I'm Joel Goldberg, back for another episode, and I've got a really good one here this time. Someone that I've had the opportunity to get to know over the last year. I want to credit Scott Havens, one of the great networkers in Kansas City, for introducing me to Brian McMaster. Brian's the CEO of M&M Quality Solutions, Inc., and e-commerce fulfillment with delivery to 98% of the U.S. within 2 days. He's an entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience working for companies like Grove Worldwide, JLG Industries, Harley, Davidson. Everybody knows that company, Rubbermaid. So there's a lot of history here for Brian, a lot of ups and downs, and I think he's way back on the up now. But one of the reasons, along with him being a great guy, that I wanted to have him on was that he's experienced the failure too, and now he is leading a company with locations across the country, which means a lot about culture, a lot about bringing people together, making it work. And he has really found himself, I believe, from our conversation. So it's a really good story, not to mention the fact that there's just so much here about culture and leadership. So I am excited right now to bring into the conversation the CEO and my friend, Brian McMaster. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing great. That was an awesome intro. I appreciate all the kind words.
I made it all up. No, I'm just kidding.
You're reading from a script.
Yeah, reading from a little bit, and then I ducked away from the script because I've gotten the chance to know you a little bit. And I don't remember when it was. I mean, it was sometime, I think, before baseball season that you and I were introduced by Scott Havens, and as you know, we kind of hit it off and clicked right away because I think that you are a very down-to-earth, real person, but also someone that has gone through so many ups and downs in life, which we all do. But sure. I mean, you're leading a big company right now, and it didn't happen overnight. And so I want to talk to you first and foremost about your company, M&M Quality Solutions. I gave the very short description in terms of e-commerce, but tell me about the company.
Sure. So we're largely today we're a lot about pick, pack, and ship, as you mentioned, e-commerce, and e-commerce is, as you also know, booming, because of the pandemic and all the stuff that we've gone through over the last year and a half, 2 years, and are still going through. People are ordering more online, and that keeps companies like ours extremely, extremely busy. So we weren't always that way. We started out, as you mentioned, servicing Harley, Davidson, Grove, JLG, and those kind of companies as more of a quality support type role, where we would inspect their parts and then ship them to their assembly lines and support the assembly lines that way. And that turned into, hey, can you store those parts that you're shipping to us as well? And bang, we're 4 locations in the U.S. and about 750,000 square foot under roof, 80 employees campus wide. And it was really simple. I woke up one day and here we are.
Well, and of course, as you know, and you're sort of joking, nothing is ever that simple. It's been quite the journey to get here. Could you have envisioned, and then I want to talk about that journey and some of your leadership style, but could you have envisioned throughout the long winding journey that you would be here? And by here, I don't mean in Kansas City, but in this role?
Absolutely not. I still to this day walk through the warehouses and, I guess it's cliche-ish, but, say pinch myself. But, I ask myself a lot, man, how did I get here? How'd this happen? And I know I have my personal stories and lots of stories. I mean, things I can tell you that would make your head spin, that I've been through, throughout this journey. But no, I really, to this day, even sitting here talking to you, it's like, man, how did I get here? It's incredible.
Well, I mean, it's almost always hard work. It's dealing with adversity. It's handling failure. So you've done that. I highlighted a few of the spots that you have been, but I know that you hit rock bottom at certain points too, in terms of your career. Tell me about that, because I I want to go there first, just because it's very easy to say, hey, here's the CEO of a company with 4 locations and 80 employees, and he has it made, which, you know, in many ways you do. And of course that could go away at any point too. You keep working for it. I know that's the case. You know, that's the case. But sometimes maybe we do have to hit rock bottom. I don't know. There are a lot of lessons learned from that if you can get back from it, and you did. Tell me about that and the trials and tribulations.
Certainly, and oh, there you go.
Go ahead. I think I lost you for a sec, but yeah. So tell me about the trials and tribulations.
So I think first of all, it builds a lot of character, and you don't realize it at the time because you're going through painful situations. But I had made the decision. I think I was 22 or 23. I had worked with my uncle's company, who supplied parts to Harley Davidson out of York, Pennsylvania at the time. And, you know, he was my mentor. He helped me learn about business and, you know, really gave me a direction of where I wanted to go. And I decided to leave that company and start my own company, which was a laser cutting business. And I mean, we were cranking. We had 2 employees and 2 machines, and we were running aerospace work. And, you know, I was sitting on top of the world. I owned my own business, and, you know, I was the boss, and I came in every day and, you know, had great offices and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then 9/11 happened. And since I was doing aerospace work, all that work dried up. It went back in, you know, as you know, the aerospace industry hit rock bottom at that point. And I mean, I hit the streets to try and find work, and I couldn't. And literally overnight, I went bankrupt. I mean, I lost everything, you know, and here I am. I'm thinking I'm at the epitome of my career, and I got the world by the butt, and, you know, I'm going to make it here. And I remember sitting with my father on my couch at home. I mean, I can vividly remember it. I can even remember the colors of the couch and the carpet, crying because I don't know where my next dollar's coming from. And, you know, it's like I'm a failure. And I mean, I sold my condo, I sold my car, I'm living with my folks, you know, and it's after you're portrayed as this, oh, you know, Brian's a business owner, and, you know, people see you in a certain light. And now all of a sudden you're losing friends. You know, I had one guy tell me never speak to me again because I owed him $1,200. And the probably the worst part of it was I went through this hearing, bankruptcy hearing, and I was there with 12 people, and I was humiliated. And you know, they're just, you know, they're going through these packets of papers and, you know, all the stuff, and everybody that was there, 5th time bankrupt, 4th time bankrupt, and they had credit card debt. And, you know, there I am, and I go up, and this was kind of a little bit of a bright light, I guess. I go up, and the lady sitting across from me, she goes, why did you go bankrupt? And I said, I tried to start a laser business. I explained the whole thing to her, and she flipped over my packet, signed it, and said, you're gone, you know, get out, you're fine. And I was like, wow. So I go out, and I remember this vividly too. It was a company we did business with. It was a powder coater in York, and the guy that owned it had MS. He's got a cane, and, you know, and I owed them, you know, $1,500 or something. It wasn't anything earth shattering. And there was another guy there as well who I owed $1,500 to, you know, something like that. And he basically, he could have spit on me. He was like, you're, you know, a horrible person, and when am I getting my money? And the guy with MS, after the other guy walks away, the guy with MS looks at me and he goes, Brian, he goes, can I take you down to the round the clock diner and buy you breakfast? And I was like, sure you want to buy me breakfast? And he goes, yeah, absolutely. He goes, you know, the whole time I was watching you sit there, he goes, I was thanking God it wasn't me. And you know, this guy has a debilitating disease, and it's like, I don't know. And those things shape you. And at that point in my life, I had reached the bottom. And, you know, this guy has a disease that I could never even comprehend. And, you know, I think at that point I started thinking to myself, you know, hey, I can get past this. You know, I just need to figure it out.
Yeah, well, there's incredible perspective there in everything you just said in that answer. I mean, on the one front, incredibly embarrassing and humiliating to to have to walk into that room, and then looking and saying, "Well, wait a minute, I, maybe a lot of this was out of my control in comparison to some of the others," and they have to have their perspective too. So, okay, now suddenly the judge sees that and maybe gives you a little bit of a boost of confidence, but clearly you're still walking out of there and feeling the way you're feeling. And now this man comes into your life at that point and gives you that perspective. And I have to think that at that, I mean, what age wise, what were you at that point?
23,
Approximately.
20,
Okay.
23,
So
24.
you think you have it all figured out, successful business owner, and you're getting humbled at what you would, I'm sure, say now, we're around the same age, a very young age. It just maybe didn't feel like it at the time. That has to have shaped you and who you are all these years later.
Absolutely. The things you never forget, I would say it this way: the things you never forget that people really never see. They see, as you mentioned before, the final act. Brian's an entrepreneur. He's in CEO groups. He's, he's doing all these things that business leaders do. And I think you and I've had this conversation before too. Everybody thinks you're a millionaire, and it's just, the truth of the matter is you just got more bills than everybody else does. so it's an honor to be in that position, but it's also something that never leaves you, and you always think about.
It depends on how you frame this. You could say it comes with a lot of pressure, which is of course true. You could say it comes with a lot of responsibility, which is also true. But to me, the pressure, and I say this in a lot of my speeches, quoting Billie Jean King, pressure is a privilege. And so you have come into this position where you have a different kind of pressure now, and that is taking care of a lot of people and employees and customers. And so I'm sure in the moment when you're in bankruptcy court, you can't think about that. You're not thinking big picture at that point. You're, as you mentioned, saying, my goodness, what a failure. What did I do here? But yet here you are. So how did you get back on your feet? How did you get from there to here?
Well, they always say people come into your life. It's a reason, a season, or a lifetime, I think is the quote. Or a season. I can't remember my own quote, but I was at that same restaurant that the guy with MS took me to, and I met a guy who I had met before through my uncle's business, who worked for Harley, ended up starting his own business. And he hey, what are you up to? What are you doing? And I painted a picture of, I'm cranking, man. I got things going on. I'm and I don't know if it's Trump or who it is that says always portray yourself to be in a better position than you really are, or maybe that's even Sun Tzu. And I ended up getting an offer to move to Kansas City to rep some suppliers inside Harley Davidson, which I was a kind of a natural at, because I had done that through my uncle's company. And I ended up moving. I really, within 3 months, I packed everything up, and my family, really my mom and dad, because I had lost my brother at a young age. My mom and dad had left them back in New Oxford, Pennsylvania, and I moved to Kansas City, and I started repping at Harley Davidson. And as you know, it's a long story, but one thing leads to another and leads to another, and I was in that plant for 6 months, and Harley had been using a company who was a competitor of ours at the time, or would be a competitor, and they were not doing a good job, so it was an opportunity. And I called my partner at the time, Scott, on the phone, and I said, "Hey, let's do this, but I want to own 50% of it." And he's like, "Okay, let's do it." So his last name, McElroy, mine's McMaster, and that's where M&M started. And we were very, very small. It was just me in Kansas City, him in York. running around from place to place on the assembly line, and eventually hired our first employee, and then just kept going from there. And of course, you and I could talk for 24 hours straight about all the trials and tribulations in between there. But that's how it went. And to kind of go back to your question before, I always wanted to have my own businesses, since I had left my uncle's company and started my own business, but I never in a million years thought it would turn into what it did.
So this was what year that you guys created M&M?
2003.
Okay, so 2003. So not too far after, you hit rock bottom, 2003 comes. I love these comparisons too. So I mean, essentially, two people with approximate revenue of what first year for the company?
$30,000. So
and now 18 years later, that 30 grand of revenue per year with two people in basically one location. I mean, maybe he was in Pennsylvania, but now you got 4 different locations right around the country. So you've got Kansas City, Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, York, Pennsylvania, and Salt Lake, Utah. 30 grand a year to what now?
We'll do just a little under 12 million this year.
That's unbelievable.
We're extremely blessed for sure.
So what's been the best part of it? I mean, it's not the money, the revenue, and all of that. I know this. I don't know the answer, but I know that there's something bigger going on that's bigger than you, that's bigger than just the money. What's your favorite part about your role with this company and the leverage and platform you have now?
Well, first thing I would say too, whenever I hear about the money, I always tell my colleagues and friends, if it was about the money, I'd have quit a long time ago. I would have got a job. I would have done something, where I was able to get that revenue without having to go through some of the things that we do. But, I think the best part of it for me is the relationships, the people. Also, I didn't always look at it this way, but somewhere along the line, someone said to me, because we were talking about how you affect the world and how you affect people, and is being an entrepreneur and a business owner bad because you make a higher income and you have different benefits and that kind of stuff. And I don't remember specifically who said it to me, but it's like, you are helping the world. You're creating opportunity for 80 people and then some and more. And your responsibility to them is to make sure that they have a paycheck every week and that they have a clean, safe place to work. And it really changed my perspective on things. And it made it even less about the money and more about, I'd said to you before, when I walk through the warehouses, I'm thinking, wow, what could this thing really be? What could we, could we be $100 million company? Could we be $1 billion company? I've always been a big dreamer, and all of this started as a thought, but yeah, I think really for me, it's what can we create, and the fact that it's different every day. You never know what you're going into, and I could tell you some stories. I shake my head. I say this a lot too. I'll just be standing in a meeting with our leadership team, and I'll be like, man, this is the stuff they don't write in business books. This is stuff they don't teach you in business school. It's like, how, why do we do this? And then you realize it's about what you can create and how far can you take this and how many lives can you affect?
Well, these are the beauties of life and the lessons learned, and when you're paying attention, and then you get into certain things. It's not always about the money, but it's generally when you get into something like this or whatever it is, it's also always about the money, whether it's survival or growth or whatever it is. And then you start to see everything else, all that you're able to zoom out a little bit, see the bigger picture, see the way it helps people, see the relationships. I mean, and I say this to so many groups. I mean, looking at what you do and some of your specialties, and you sent me this list. chrome plating, polishing, cosmetic evaluation, import-export services, inspection services. I can't do any of that stuff, Brian, but I know I can connect with the people, right? And if you can't connect with the people, you're not going to do well. That's universal, I think, for every company, and I think that you figured that out, and that's one, a long way of me kind of sharing my view on it, but two, a way for me to ask you how are you now as a leader, and what's your leadership style in bringing people together with this culture at M&M, because it's not just one spot. As I mentioned, you're now needing to get people on the same page across the country. Okay, so we lost Brian for a moment. We'll get him back. Okay,
Hey,
I got
Joel.
Brian back. Yeah, we lost. That's okay. We'll keep rolling. But and those that watch the video and watch us on YouTube, you'll see some of the wonderful technical difficulties we all deal with in the world nowadays, virtual, and what we deal with in television every single day. Those that are listening on audio, they'll never hear it. The beauty of editing. But what I was asking you, Brian, is I was saying that, you know, we all, at some point or another, we all get into something for the money, whether it's survival or growth. I mean, we need that. And then if you're paying attention and you're able to zoom out, you start to see that it's so much more than that. It's about the people. It's about so many other important elements of life. And I was joking that, you know, when I look at the list of specialties that you sent me, manufacturing processes, inspection services, chrome plating, polishing, cosmetic evaluation, welding, assembly. I can't do any one of those things. I would never attempt to do any one of those things, but I can connect with the type of people that do them, which
Sure.
is, I think, something that every one of us needs. So the question is, how do you bring all of your people together? You're now leading people, not in one spot, but across the country, different backgrounds, different roles. What is your leadership style with that?
Well, I think number one is communication. You can't get anything done without communicating, and in times of struggle, it's over communicating. Where, I mean, we've been in those times where you can't communicate enough because things just fall through the cracks. But I will say, you know, the thing for me is you can't do it alone. And someone told me a long time ago, if you want to grow, you have to let go. And I had a very difficult time when my business was smaller, letting go. You know, I wanted to be the one making the decisions. I wanted to be I had to be involved in all the stuff. And quite frankly, I'm not a detail guy. I mean, I'm a shiny new penny kind of guy. And, you know, I needed a good team. And it took a long time to find the right team. And now we have it. So my leadership style became really find the right people, because you can't do it yourself. And if you want to grow, you gotta delegate. You gotta have people in there that you trust that can make good decisions. So, and then I think the other thing is keeping it light and airy and, you know, unintimidating, you know, because sometimes you're sitting in a room with a CEO and it's like, oh, it's a CEO, you know, but, you know, I'll pick on our people and make jokes and you know, I think sometimes I come across, you know, like, man, is he really a CEO? You know, I'll show up in a hat and shorts, you know, just really trying to keep things light with our people, and especially staying close to our senior leadership team. We click, and that to me is the most important thing of all. And if you can't trust your people that you work with, you know, you're sunk to start.
Yeah, that is true in every profession, in any leadership role, without a doubt. And so that's, I don't know, I've got to imagine that's one of the fun elements for you of putting those pieces together every single day, because they evolve too, right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing about business. It's always different. There's always something new and something unexpected. And if you try to strangle it and rope it, you might as well throw a rope around a rocket ship, because especially in today's day and age, and I tell my colleagues and my friends this too when we talk about business, They used to ask you, hey, what's your 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan? And I'm sitting here going, hell, I don't even have a 3-month plan. My plan is to let's get ourselves through this month. Let's get ourselves through the next month, because the world is changing so fast. So to think that you're going to plan out 10 years is really difficult.
Let's get to the baseball themed questions, and maybe we've talked about it, but I'll let you go wherever you want to go. I don't know where you're going, but what is the biggest home run that you have hit in your career? Just
what we just talked about. It took me so long to find the right senior leadership team. And it literally, I went through people who came in and told me they needed 2 secretaries and airplanes and, all kinds of stuff, to people who just want to sit behind their desk and, push a pen all day long, to my top 2 people today are our COO and our CFO are hard workers. They're smart. They care about the business like it's their own, and they go out there and they roll up their sleeves and unload a container if they need to. And that was very, very difficult to find. But for me, that's what makes our business what it is today. And they are following suit by finding middle management and leadership teams that report to them that are the same way, very dedicated, not afraid to get their hands dirty. It's impressive and fun to watch, and I'm proud of them.
How about a swing and a miss, and what did you learn from it?
I swung so hard at this, I came out of my shoes. I tried to start a trucking company. 2015, I thought, I had this major entrepreneur brainstorm. Hey, I got all these locations across the United States. I could run M&M trucks between all those locations, and have drivers. And I had this vision of the M&M logo on the side of these trucks. And I hired a guy that knew the business really, really well, and we bought 6 Peterbilts, and we leased trailers, and we were running trucks. The unfortunate part about it was we were bleeding money, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. I tried. I brought in professionals. I did everything I could, and I ended up losing. I lost $1 million, and that hurts. Now, I guess the silver lining to that is, that's more money than some people make in a lifetime, but from my standpoint, boy, it was a nasty time, and almost really put me out of business.
So you made it through. A lot of lessons there too, in terms of, I think, the lanes we pick, and sometimes what turns into the shiny object, right? It's when you're ambitious and you've got big dreams, what you do, many of us do, it's you can go down what seems like the right move at the time. And again, I think hopefully you learn from it and grow from it. So the last baseball theme question, small ball. What are the little things that add up to the big home runs, the big wins for you?
Relationships, communicating with those relationships. And, I'm still largely, even though we don't live in the handshake world anymore, I'm largely a trusting individual. And, I really put a lot of faith in developing relationships, and it's not just relationships like, you take them to the ball game or you take them out to dinner or that kind of stuff. It's really getting to know people at a level that they trust you and you trust them. And, a lot of our customers, they can come to us and say, Brian, I don't like what's going on here. I need you to help me change it. And, having that kind of relationship is invaluable. So I think the more of those things you do in life and in business, the more connection you have with people, and the good connections you have with people are what really get you on base, as you would say.
Yes, no doubt about it. It always comes down to relationships. You can get by without them, I suppose. You're not going to get too far, though. You're going to need them almost every step of the way. All right, 4 final questions as we round the bases. The first one, I believe I wrote this in a note at some point after you and I went to lunch at I don't know when. I don't think it was the most recent lunch that we had. That I think you told me you wanted to be a firefighter growing up. Tell me if I'm right on that, and when did that change?
You are. When I was really young, I was all about. I had a friend of the family that was a paid firefighter in the town that I grew up, and he gave me for my birthday one year, gave me a fire helmet. And then my dad worked for my grandfather's used car and garage type thing. So what they did was they serviced all the local fire stations. They serviced all the trucks. So every time my dad was going to fix a truck or service a truck, I got to go pick it up with him. So we'd go to the firehouse and he'd check it out as service, and we were in the fire truck. And I was really enamored by that. And one of my coaches tells me that, even though I didn't become a firefighter, it was probably kind of an innate thing in you that says that you want to help people. And, you're doing that today, even though you're not riding the truck to the fire. So, yeah. Cool memory.
In some ways you did become that firefighter, right? It just in a different role. Second question, as we round the bases, I ask all my guests, hey, tell me something interesting. And you said, well, I don't know, I can't really think of anything. Essentially, that's what you said to me. And I'm like, well, I already know something interesting about you, more so even than the firefighter thing, because not everybody does this. I have a great admiration for it. I couldn't. You are a black belt. Tell me about that, because I know you're very passionate about it.
Yeah, I am. And I did think about that. I have a lot of mentors and a lot of coaches.
We lost Brian again, and we'll get him back.
I don't know, Joel. I don't know what's happening there. I apologize for that.
Yeah, no, just internet. It happens sometimes. Okay, so I was asking you, tell me about being a black belt and your passion for that.
So I as I had started to say, I have a lot of coaches and a lot of mentors, as you know, in Vistage, and one of the things that I was looking for when I came to Kansas City, I couldn't really play football. I couldn't really do anything competitive, and I was getting my car repaired one day, and there was a karate studio, Taekwondo studio, right down from where I was getting my car repaired. And I walked in to, it was Millennium Martial Arts at the time, Master Mike Butler, who has become a great friend of mine, but also an amazing leader for me. And just basically talked about, hey, I want to get in and I want to do some sparring. I want to be able to compete. I want to be able to do some things. And that was really what got me started. But then my journey, as far as that was concerned, from belt to belt and on my way to black belt, which was really what we were after. You start to get to black belt, and I associate so much of what I go through in daily life with the things that I learn from my black belt and Taekwondo family, which is now Hero Martial Arts. And I find that not only do I want to get to the next level, and I can see the next levels, but I learn so much about managing your fire and managing your emotions and keeping yourself calm and focusing on details and that type of stuff. So I'm actually going to be testing for my third degree in November of this year. And it's just been an amazing experience, amazing team, amazing family. And it's more than anything, it's a release. Master Butler, he tells me, when you step foot in the dojo, you forget about everything else. You're doing Taekwondo, and it helps me separate things too, because a lot of things in our life as an entrepreneur run together. So it's
well, yeah. I mean, I think those of us that have never gone down the martial arts road always think, he or she, he's a black belt, she's a black belt, don't mess with them, which I mean, probably is the truth, but that's not the big benefit from it. I think that's probably what many of us forget. I mean, think about it in the same way that people meditate or those type of self-care, mindfulness, present in the moment. And so it sounds like that has really done a lot for you internally beyond the physical part of it that have enabled you to be a better person and a better leader.
Yeah, it's not about it. I just had this conversation with a couple of people the other day. It's not about, because you're exactly right. Oh, he's a black belt. Oh, he's a big bad black belt, and even sometimes people, want to provoke you at that point. But being a black belt is not about fighting and those are the things out. It's more about, respect. It's about honor. It's about, having something that you look forward to and having a family that you trust. And, sure, the other stuff comes along with it, but, and you get a great workout too, but there's so much more to it than that. And if we think about it, that's what the world needs today: discipline, respect, honor. We're missing a lot of that.
Our third question as we round the base is what's the best part of leading people? And, we're talking now about a diverse group of people, different generations, the younger group, different than our age, and on and on. There's a lot that you have to pull together. What's your favorite part about being in that leadership position?
I think seeing people grow, aha moments, to be a little bit cliche. When you see people get things, or when you see them have like a rewarding experience, and then or learn something new. I think that's probably the best part for me, because we, especially today, we see a lot of people come and go. Labor's a challenge, but I'm not one of those people who's lost faith in humanity or anything. We see people come in. We hired a young gal the other day. She's 19 years old, and I mean, she's switched on. I mean, it's like you can see it. She's headed in a direction, so I think seeing that, gives me a lot of hope, and that future leaders are, as I said, switched on, and they know what they want. Whereas we don't hear that on the news or, social media and that type of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there that we don't, because it doesn't sell.
Absolutely.
Clickbait.
Exactly.
Final question, the walk-off then. I don't know. I mean, I feel like in many ways you're just getting started. I feel like I'm just getting started. I hope we always feel that way until we're ready to be done, and what's next? I'm not trying to send you down more of these paths. I don't want to send you on a swing and miss again, but I know your mind's always churning too, whether that's scaling and growing, or whether that's some kind of other endeavor. I'm not asking you to tell any secrets if there are any either, but I'm guessing you're not satisfied.
No, and I won't be. It's like everybody works their life to get to that retirement, right? I'm going to retire at 65 or whatever. I can't ever see myself not working. What's next? We're going to continue to scale M&M. We're looking at strategic locations in the U.S. We're working with a mergers and acquisitions group to potentially acquire some other businesses that fit into our scope of work. And, we're going to continue to grow our staff, our capabilities, and, really ride this e-commerce train, as long as we can. I think it's a 5 to 10 year cycle. I don't think it's gonna change, anytime soon. But and then also for me, it's balancing my life out a little bit, because I focus a lot on business. As you know, I'm engaged, and I'm really working hard to continue to be a better future partner, and that type of stuff. So I think I probably said this to you in one of the meetings. From a business standpoint, I'd want to rule the world. I want to keep growing. I certainly don't want to be a Jeff Bezos or the cook from Apple or anything like that. But small business is in my blood, and I want to continue to grow those things.
Yeah, and as long as Amber will continue hanging on to you, you're doing okay. The better half, clearly, we know that one, right? We both overachieved as far as that goes, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I definitely am. I'm the farm team, and she's the major leaguer for sure. but she takes care of me, and she's good support, and
Yep.
I know, for you as well.
Yep, no doubt about it. I'm so glad that I've had the chance to get to know you. We'll continue to do this. It's an amazing story. It's, I think, an inspirational one that you can indeed hit rock bottom and bounce back in a big way. It doesn't happen overnight, but slowly but surely it does. The growth, I know, will continue as well. So for anyone that wants to learn more, you can go to mmqualitysolutions.com. That is the website, mmqualitysolutions.com. Brian is the CEO of M&M Quality Solutions, Inc., and a fantastic guest. And I just love the perspective on everything. Continued success, my friend. And thank you so much for coming on Rounding the Bases.
Thanks, Joel. Really appreciate it, and I'm honored to help as well. Thank you, my friend.